All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tutorial number 4 of ICT204 project management. There's a number of things I would like to go through today. It's basically relating to your assignment and the things that we need to go and ensure you do on time. I know that you guys have submitted the first task, which is the project charter. We will be having a look at what you've actually produced there. We'll be able to go and give you comments accordingly in terms of the work that you went and actually produced. So that will be hopefully coming in the next day or two, and then you'll be able to start getting feedback about that particular work and find any potential ways to go and improve. There's obviously other tasks that are due very, very shortly that you need to go and know about. So I encourage you to make sure you are listening to these, because if you submit your work late, you won't be eligible for mark. That's technically speaking what happens. So it's very important you do submit your work on time so that we can mark it on time, give you feedback on time, and enable you to go and have the opportunity to go and improve your work on time going forward. So the first thing is I want to ask, does anybody here does not have a group? Anyone here does not have a group? Okay, anybody here did not create a WhatsApp group so that they can actually go and interact with people who are in that group? Because I want you to be on constant communication. I want you to make sure you're doing your job on time. Has anybody not created a WhatsApp group and started to go and work with other people and communicating together to get the job done? Okay, well, it seems we don't have an issue here. So if any of you listening to this video and cannot find that you guys have any team to go and work with, it's very, very important you immediately email your coordinator, not the coordinator, the actual lecturer specifically, or your tutor. It'll be better because the tutor is the one who is going to be allocating you to a specific group. You don't have a group to speak to, go to the coordinator, go to the tutor, email them directly, say, I am in this tutorial, I haven't had any group been assigned to me just yet. I know that the team has started submitting various tasks, but I haven't been getting any marks because I'm not part of a group. So could you please assign me to a group so that I can start getting some marks for my assignment? So please make sure you do that, and please make sure you have a chat to the right person, which is your tutor, to be able to go and get assigned to a group. And remind us, I just want to remind you that it's your responsibility to get yourself into a group. If you're not in a group, you need to speak up so that we can actually go and assign you to the group and enable you to go and get the job done. Now, this is an interesting question I usually ask. Is there anybody here who does have a group, but who is experiencing issues? So it's basically making it difficult. Individuals can't collaborate. Is there anybody here having a problem with their group? They're not listening, they're not responding, they're not doing the job, any problem whatsoever that I need to know about so that I can go and ensure I will go and create the help that you guys need. So what can you tell me, guys? Anybody have any issues we need to know about? All right, well, if at any point of time, any of you starts experiencing problems that prevent your ability from getting the job to be completed, it's very, very important you do let us know, guys. You can, at the first instance, inform your tutor. If you are having any problems and you still can't get the job done, you can relate with the subject coordinator, and he'll be able to go and ensure that you are getting the help that you need. The answer to the question is no, unfortunately, you cannot work by yourself. It is a group task. What you need to know is what is going to happen is when you are in that group and the job is only been done by one person, only one person is going to be getting the mark, and that is you. You need to tell me that your group members are not working so that I can go and record that down They need to tell me that they're not working so that I can go and make a follow-up with them personally to ask, why aren't you getting any work completed? And on top of that, once the final work will go and get completed, what's going to happen is I will, you have the chance to go and tell me what's the percentage of work that people in the group has actually went and completed. And then based on that, I decide whether people will get no mark for their assignment or will only get 50% mark of their assignment. So it's only going to be fair that we ensure people are doing the right job. Alrighty, guys, so I just want to go and ask the question again. Is there anybody in any groups where the people are not doing their job? They're not contributing, they're not responding, because it's very simple. Now I have my first task. I'm going to look at that task. I'm going to know who didn't do any work, and I'm going to not give them any mark for that first task. It's very simple from my end. They don't do the job, they do not get a mark. They do the job, they get the mark. So I need to know if anybody is not doing the job, because I am not going to assign them any mark for the first task. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with every single tutor. You need to let your tutor know. We cannot continue having people not doing any work and getting a mark, because if we're going to give a mark in the first task, they're going to continue doing it. And most importantly, why we won't give them a mark, not because we care about the mark, but because we care about ensuring that people are learning. And if people are not learning, that is basically going to be a problem, because they cannot go and apply any of that learning in practice, which means we cannot get them to pass a subject if they haven't demonstrated that they actually have passed the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes would only be demonstrated by ensuring you are doing the activities that are going to be required. So it's very, very important that you are listening, to your group members. You are doing the job that you've been asked to go and do at a particular point of time. If you do not go and do the job, and if anybody is not doing the job, we want to make sure you tell us about it so that we can take the corrective actions, including speaking to every person in that group to ensure that they will get back to speed and they start working as is expected from every member of the group. Task 2, guys, is about review, assessment, do case study, which is available on Moodle. So I'm going to go back for a second. I'm going to go to Firefox. And I want to remind you, there's a few things. This is, if you look here, if you open this first file, it very clearly goes and indicates for you details about your assignment. So if I go down all the way to get to the assessment section, you'll be able to go and see that, details about your assignment. So, we have a company, that they want to go and create a website. We have you some background information. We know how much budget we're providing. We know what we are actually trying to go and get created. So it's very, very important to go and look at those details, look at the outcomes, making sure any plan you go and create is going to show a consideration of all of these things and all the purposes we would like to go and do. The assessment will allow us to create a group. You need to create many concepts, apply them, charter, scope. You started submitting the charter, there's a scope. Someone asked me earlier, do we need to create a Gantt chart? Yes, you do. Have a look. Network diagram, yes, you do. So there's information basically being created there. The more you do, the more marks you are going to be getting, because you are meeting the quality expectations that we basically would like to go and ensure that you guys are going to go and be doing. Another thing I want to go and show you here is, if I go back to that page, I just want to remind you that every week we've been giving you more information. So you can go, for example, and see that we gave you, for example, in week number 2, the JWD approach. For anybody who hasn't been attending their classes, guys, it's very important you open that document, you read it in very much details, because it basically gives you the foundation of what needs to go and be done to be able to go and get the job done. So week after week, go and explain all of that information. Look at it to be able to go and really get the job done. Initiation, what do you do, stakeholder, register. So everything, we're giving you examples. You guys already submitted a charter. We even gave you an example of a charter here. You know, kickoff meetings, there's all the information. So just make sure you are looking at all of those documentations as your foundation of all the work that needs to go and actually get completed. So have a look at that. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions at all? All right, no worries. So guys, you are responsible for catching up on the actual work. You are responsible to get things done on time. If you do not submit your work, you will actually lose 5 marks. But also, if you have not worked with your group to do the task, which I know some groups haven't, you won't get any mark for that task. You will get a 0 for that task. And the reason why would be very simple. You did not contribute to that task. So don't say, oh, it's only a charter, or it's only a scope register, or it's only a scope statement. Let me not worry about it. Let me not waste my time on it. No, you don't do it, you lose your mark. So this is really a thing for you guys to bear in mind in details. I'm going to also get at the end the manager of that team to give me a percentage of the contribution of everybody in that group. And based on that, I'm going to decide how much mark you are going to actually be getting at that particular point of time. So it's very, very important that you think in details that you need to work and deliver the quality. You need to think that I'm not going to be getting an easy ride, because if I'm thinking I would like to go and get an easy ride, I won't be able to go and get a good mark for my assignment. So please bear that in mind. There's a lot of hard work that needs to be completed to get the job done. You submit your work late and the penalty starts applying every single day, 5% penalty per day. There is no reason why anybody will go and submit the work late. The reason why people won't submit the work late is if they basically started to go and get the job done week after week. There's no reason why they would submit things late. Things will basically go and start getting submitted on time. If, however, you do not go and do the job correctly, if, however, you do not go and keep on doing things on time, the only thing that is going to happen because you are not doing things on time is you will actually go and notice that you will not be able to deliver the requirements of the job on time. That becomes an issue for you to go and bear in mind. So a few things for you to go and really think about to be able to understand how things need to go and get completed. Now we come back to all of these due dates. The draft charter was due on Sunday last week. The scope and stakeholder register, so 2 tasks now, are actually due for submission on Sunday this week. The draft risk register, the work breakdown structure, and the project budget are due the week after. And your final report, including whether people have done the job, is the final week. So you might have worked 2 weeks and not 4 weeks, and that's going to go and impact on what mark you are going to be getting for your assignment. So you contribute, you get the mark. You don't contribute, you do not get the mark. So it's very important that you do the job appropriately. This is the tab 4. You submit late, 1 day, 5% penalty per day of late submission. And these tasks, tab 1, 2, 3, you didn't submit that on time, you won't get the work completed. Now let me ask you a question, guys. How many of you submitted the assessment document, the assessment cover page when they submitted their work on Moodle? Did you submit the assessment cover page?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody forgot? Anyone forgot to do the assignment cover page at the beginning of the assignment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so make sure you do not forget it anymore. Okay, because that's part of the requirement that says it is our own work. It's part of ensuring that it's part of the requirements to accept any assignment that gets submitted and basically give it some marking. So please make sure if anybody is not submitting the assessment cover page when they are actually submitting their work, it's very important that they ensure they are submitting that cover sheet before their work to ensure that that work is going to be marked. Anybody who's trying to submit zip files, did anybody try to submit a zip file? Anyone submitted a zip file because there's more than one file? Next week, you're going to start having a scope and a stakeholder register. A lot of people say, it's a good idea, let me go and put it in a zip file. I'm telling you from now, zip file is not accepted. You need to put them both in a Word document and get them submitted, or in Excel or whatever, but you cannot, the main one is Microsoft Word or PDF. So please make sure when you are submitting your work, you are going to be looking at that in details. You are going to ensure you are using the right format to be able to ensure we get the job correctly. So please make sure you don't submit the files in zip files, because that's wrong. Even for tab 2, for tab 3, do not submit it as a zip file. We want you to make sure you submit them as one big file, and we'll go and look at that one particular big file. Now, don't worry about that due date there. That's actually the old due date, but there's all of this information here about the task that needs to be done. So the due date for your work is the 18th of April 2021. That's what you need to look at. The way we are going to be marking the final work, that's how we're going to mark it. Project charter, scope, and stakeholder register, 5 marks. Schedule, work break and structure, and risk register and budget, 5 marks. Complete PMP, including extras and activity report, 7 marks. Presentation, grammar, and references, 3 marks. So these are extra things we expect you to go and be making as part of your work. Extras refer to things like a Gantt chart, further cost analysis, network diagrams. They will offset mistakes you might be doing in earlier sections. So it's basically important to go and try to sort those earlier issues you've done. All right, guys, so this is the information that shows the correct due date for your assessment. It is 18th of April 2021. And this is the same information here about the presentation, the complete PMP, all the other tasks. Now, I was asked earlier, the question is, do we go and do we create a Gantt chart? Do we go and create a network diagram? Do we go and do any of these things? Now, the answer for this question is really simple. It is things that will give you potentially extra marks. Why would they give you extra marks? They will give you extra marks, especially if you've done mistakes in earlier sections, okay? So if you make some mistakes, if you basically make bad work earlier, it's going to basically go and be offset by basically the issues that basically you've done in earlier files, and that will basically help you to go and get an appropriate mark for your assignment. So bear that in mind, that the more tasks you go and do, the more marks you are able to go and get at any particular point of time. So we want you to get the maximum mark, and that's basically, the more marks you can get, the better it's going to make it easier for you to be able to go and actually pass the subject. Alrighty, now, there's obviously another thing that I want you to go and know about now. And what is that is, in terms of a sample assignment that has been published for you guys on Moodle. So I'm going to go and download that file for you now. So let's go to Firefox. Where is that? I'm going to share that file with you. All right, that's it. You go share. All right, so this is the information. So if you go a bit down, guys, you'll be able to see that there's an example being given here and called, I think it's, just see what it is. Okay, so you can see this file he called first complete assignment for another case study. And it's saying we will review others. So we will be reviewing other cases down the track. But if we go and start looking at this, so let's go and have a look at it slowly, slowly. So the first obvious thing you basically go and see here is what? Is basically you see that there is a cover sheet. That's the first thing. Second thing you see there's things in the table of content. Now, that's not the most professional table of contents, and I would usually, when I go through something, I would usually give you feedback. But what I want you to go know is you can see here that there's, executive summary. The executive summary never goes in the table of content. The executive summary always goes before the table of content. So if you put an executive summary in your table of content, that's actually wrong. So make sure you go and put an executive summary before the table of content, and then you don't even need to mention it as part of the table of content. Team contract, okay, request description, participation, communication, project charter. Like, one things I would always like to see in a content is I like to see numbering. I like to see headings and subheadings. For example, project charter, goal and objective. Are they part of the charter? Are they part of like an initiation stage? Are they part of, planning stage? What are they? Kind of put headings and subheadings. It makes the work looks much more better than the way it is actually currently looking. So it's something that is important to go and really bear in mind. If we go down, this is the executive summary. Okay, what can you see, guys, in this executive summary? What can you see something clearly wrong? What can you see?
So no paragraph.
The format?
The format. What's wrong with the format?
Up it's big and on the down is small.
Okay, so you see how the font is different. Okay, what's wrong with this word? What's wrong with this word?
Maybe they use different font for different words.
Okay, have you heard of anything called UK English and US English?
Yes, sir. There is
Okay.
English.
So where do you live?
Australia.
In Australia. What language does Australia write?
British English.
Which one?
British one.
British. So UK English. That's what you need to go and ensure you are using as part of the work. That's what I want you to go and think about. Team contract. Okay, we declare that. Okay, no problem. I would love to see them in bullet points, easier, clearer to the eye, not like this. Participation, we will. Okay, we will. I would have loved to see people signing on this. If that's team contract, why people didn't sign on it to basically go and submit it. Kickoff meeting, we're starting the project. Meeting minutes, meeting objective, agenda, conclusion. Okay. Where are the action items? Where are the action items? I can't see any. Where are the stakeholders? Who attended the team? Who attended the meeting? I can't see any of that. It's not here. You kind of made the kickoff meeting, but some of that information that should be there is actually not there. So my question is, why isn't that information really there? It should basically be there. Project charter. Okay, do you like this structure of the project charter, guys? Do you like it? What do you think? You start with a table, then you no longer have a table, then you have big font, then the font goes back sometimes. Okay, then you have a smaller font here, not the font, the sizing small here, the sizing is big here. Okay, there's small spacing here, there's big spacing here. What else? There's UK English, US English being used. So there's a lot of things here, like I'm thinking about, you know, constraints. Okay, what's in scope, what's out of scope, isn't that related to the scope document? What's the constraints, isn't that relating to the scope document? So that's basically why I said there's one of the files that is available on Moodle I don't like very much, because it is kind of mixing the charter with the scope content. So it's very important you're not mixing them. It's very important if you go and create a scope statement later, you're not going to go and have a repetition of information. Deliverables, okay, you see, responsible here, and then the majority is here, reviewers, okay? Why is it like that? Can't you make this page, for example, be landscape, for example, that page? You can create a section break and make one page to be landscape. Can't you do that? And you have more space. Okay, I like that. Do you know why I like that? Why do you think I like that? Do you think a project manager gets $1,500 a day?
No?
Yes, they do. 1,000, 1,200, 1,500. They get a lot of money per day. Okay, so you need to go and conduct research. You need to make sure when you're going to go and use figures, make sure you are showing those figures. Make sure you are showing that, you know, we've done my research. When I go and give you a budget for your assignment, I want to show you that I have done and created a lot of details. I thought about every single point in that budget. I thought about all the costing. I thought about everything that needs to go and be done. And we'll put that information accordingly. So it's something very important to go and think about. So testing. Wow, this is really terrible. Why is that terrible? Why is that wrong? Why is that wrong, guys? Any idea? Okay, let me show you. Okay. Developer what's that? Okay. Guys, a tester is not even mentioned here. Okay. A tester gets paid between $800 and $1,000 every day. If you are talking about a system that took you 6 months to go and develop, you know, there's no way that testing system that took you 6 months to develop, there's no way that system is going to take less than at least 60 hours of testing. 60 hours of testing, you know, if you divide that by 8, it's about 8 days, 9 days, 10 days of testing. This will cost you much more than $20,000 to go and do testing than what they basically done us here. And on top of this, if you want to go and tell me you're developing a website, why didn't you even incorporate that there is a tester that needs to go and get the job completed? Why isn't there any tester listed here for us to be able to go and have the right information? That is something that we need to go and think about in details. And that's something I will be looking at in details when I'm really marking your assignment and when your tutors are going to go and be marking your assignments. Various things. I can see how the IT manager, Sammy Jane, team leader, Gregory. Now, where is, like, you are being assigned as a company to go and do the job. How come I cannot see any name of any of the people who are students at KOI? You guys are doing that job. You guys are part of that stakeholder team. You guys are part of that project team. And Tetcha was not part of that team. You need to show me who is going to be part of that team to get the job done. You can't basically go and not put that information. Scope statement. Well, definitely you could create a better structure than that. Maybe a table, maybe use some more bullet points. So I think, this is like a description, kind of give it a proper heading. It's just not, it's not about the content, it's just about how you are presenting the content that is really not appropriate. Deliverables. And you can see here they're talking deliverables. So this is what I'm talking about, repetition. Why am I wanting to go and repeat the same information in more than one section? If I see repetition, you will be marked down for that repetition. Even though it might be a document that is available on the website or whatever, if there's repetition, you'll be marked down. So make sure there's no repetition if you go and create various documents. A charter doesn't have repetition with a scope, doesn't have a repetition with a plan. You need to make sure you look at that information in details. Stakeholder register. All right, fair enough. Needs, wants, concerns. All right, great. What is missing from that stakeholder register? What is missing from that stakeholder register? Something very important. What is missing? So we have the name, title, role, power. See the power again, how it's shown. Interest. Okay, what is missing? Come on, guys. Come on, all my smart people. I'm sure you're smart enough. You can tell me what is missing.
Is it job title?
No, it is a program executive. That is the title. Well, you give me the power, you give me the interest. What is missing? What is something really important that needs to be indicated for us to go and use?
Is it contact detail?
No, something else. Something else. Can anybody think about it?
Might be influence.
What's that?
Influence.
I didn't hear that. Sorry, what's that?
Is it influence?
Inference?
Influence.
What do you mean?
Influence. Influence.
Influence. Now they said power. Power is influence. Down here. Something else. Okay, you can see here that there's a stakeholder. You can see that his power is high. You can see that his interest is high. Great. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Can you see what you're doing about it here? Can you look at this and tell me what we're doing about it? How are we going to go and manage it? There isn't anything. You tell me that he's important. You tell me that we need to go and you know, help him out. You tell me all of these things, but you miss a very important things. You tell me, okay, so we know he's different. We know he cares about the budget. We know he cares about the delays. Okay, great. That's a great information to go and indicate. One very important thing that is actually missing is you need to go and indicate what are we going to do to manage those people differently. This information is not listed. You cannot just create for me a stakeholder register and not even tell me, I found out that these people are different, but I'm not going to do anything about it. You need to explain to me in details, what are you going to basically be doing about it now? That's something to go and bear in mind. So it's very, very important. You not simply tell me about the stakeholders, but you also tell me what am I going to be doing in terms of dealing with all of those stakeholders. Is that clear, guys? Is everyone clear?
So can you please repeat that?
Okay, what I'm saying, you can't simply tell me that, you know, I know the stakeholder, I know his concern, I know his power. I want to know, so you tell me he needs, you know, project completed before the deadline. Okay, we know what that person wants. But what I don't see here, how am I, as a project team, going to ensure I am going to be meeting what the stakeholder really needs? Don't simply put me that stakeholder and he has a priority and the priority changes. Don't simply put me that. You need to put me more than that to tell me how am I, as a project team, going to be able to be managing that stakeholder. That is the column that is missing here, that if you put it, you're basically indicating to me that because this stakeholder is different, you are going to be creating a very specific approach to be able to go and deal with it. Does that make sense? Maybe, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Continue with other stuff. You know, there's a work break and structure. Guys, I've been teaching you so much about work break and structure. Okay, is this a task? Is this written as a task? It's not. Gather all required infrastructure is written as a cost. Prepare a budget is a task. You need to basically create a work break and structure. Design a blueprint. Okay, let a specialist develop a blueprint. Now, guys, I have a problem with that work break and structure. Two problems. One is that work break and structure is high level. Like there's barely any activities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not detailed enough. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is about the work break and structure is, you know, if you go and look at it, a lot of these are not actual activities. Like infrastructure, the way it's written is not really an activity. A third thing I don't like about this work break and structure is the assignment gave you very clear scope, gave you very clear modules, gave you, you know, and that's what we give you in the assignment. We have very, very clear things we want to do. We tell you what is the name of that module. We tell you what is the name of that feature. When you want to give me a work break and structure, I need to see those requirements and those things I'm asking you for. We need to see them, that they are actually listed here, you know, module 1 or whatever it is, you know, whatever we ask you for, that information needs to go and be incorporated into the right place. If it's not incorporated there, you won't be able to go and really get the marks for that particular item. So it's something to go really bear in mind. Don't give me any high level. Give me things that are very much specific to that particular case. If we give you a case and say we want module 1, make sure you're commenting on module 1 when you are incorporating and doing that item appropriately. You go look at the risk register. Likelihood, impact, severity, okay, responsibility. Guys, for example here, this is hidden. For example, you can go and analyze the risks by putting them based on more than one color. Let me show you what I mean. Like if you go and look here, if you go and say, okay, IT project risk register example, you can see how you can create more, like what's the severity? Who's the owner? What are the actions I'm going to do to mitigate that risks, to reduce the likelihood of that risk occurring? You can see various colors. You know, red is very high. You know, something else is less high. You can see many, many various examples. Okay, so go and look at, you know, professional ways of doing your stuff. Don't just go and find the first one. Like look this, you know, high, risk modification plan, risk owner, next update, and all of this is information you can create. And obviously, that sort of information was not actually created here. That information is not really showing in the best possible manner here. So that's something, again, to bear in mind. A budget. Ooh, all right. Let me go and see. $225,000 and $80,000 for a business analyst. Let me go up. What do we have here? All right, that's exactly the same information. So then my question is, why are we repeating that same information up here and down here? You could have just a quick summary up here and you can provide all the details down here. So you do not need to kind of repeat the same information. So, you know, we think about that. You told me earlier there's a testing, okay, testing by supplier. Okay, so I can see that you're trying to incorporate that, but we give you a sample budget. You can go and incorporate that sample budget, but you can see as an example of how things need to go and be completed. We need to be able to see that, again, I repeat what I said earlier, you just need to go and minimize any sort of repetition. Repetition is not helpful. Repetition is not needed. So please make sure you don't actually have any repetition, because it's not going to add any value for your work. So repetition should be stopped at all instances, guys. Please make sure you're actually doing all of this. Going down, 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 group report. Who is the report? Who is the discussion? Look, all of this is good. Bullet points is what I would like to see, but what I would like to see before anything, the most important thing I want to see is a table. That table needs to be here at the beginning, a table by the group leader, and the group leader needs who is, by the way, only the group leader could submit the work to Moodle. So the group leader needs to go and create a table. That table needs to clearly show the name of every team member, and it needs to clearly show the percentage contribution of each team member. If, for example, a team member operated 100% and a team member operated 40%, then if let's say someone, if let's say the one person on the team who did 100% of the work, if he got 20 over 20, the person who did not do the same amount of quality work in the same time of work, if they only did 40%, instead of getting 20 over 20, I will only grant them 8 over 20. So it's very important to bear in mind that that it's you will only get enough mark based on how much work you've went and actually completed. So that's something to go and bear in mind. You're not going to get any easy mark. If you haven't done the job, you won't get a mark. It's as simple as that. So please make sure you are spending the time to go and do the work as you are expected to go and do, and make sure as a group leader, you're going to have to go and make sure that you'll actually show that you've done the job according to the requirements. If you haven't done that, you basically won't get the mark. Finally, you go and create a small conclusion there, the work. There's something missing from the end. What do you think is missing, guys?
The references.
There's no references. So what is that going to happen if there's no references? It's going to go and have a direct impact on your mark. No references equal a direct impact on your mark. Am I clear with everything that I've explained to you so far? Is everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions at all? Now, you see, when I'm actually looking at an assignment, I'm very, very particular. I'm very, very specific. So I will tell you what's good about it. I will tell you what's bad about it. When I'm going to go and show you more examples down the track, I'm going to tell you, guys, don't do this, guys, do this. I will give you all of this various feedback. And based on this feedback, I'll be able to go and ensure you can learn and you'll be able to go and really get the best outcome. So please make sure you listen to that feedback. You consider that feedback in details, because if you just look at that feedback, if you don't worry about it, if you don't listen about it, if you don't apply it the way you are expected to go and apply it, you're just simply not going to get the best mark. And my job here, and the job of every teacher here, we care about you. You are like our children, and we want to make sure we're going to guide you. We're going to help you to go and get the best possible outcome. But you will not get the best possible outcome if you are not contributing to the work and if you're not actually applying what we are telling you to go and really do at a particular point of time. So if I was to have one very quick advice to you guys, please listen to every single thing we are basically telling you to go and do, because that listening is going to basically go and get it translated into many, many marks that you are able to go and achieve for your assignment. Okay, that's simply, by the way, it's not only about the marks, it's also about being able to go and apply that learning down the track in practice, because we want you to be having the opportunity to go and apply all of that learning and be able to, if we're to give you something in practical terms, if you were to be working for a company, any of the stuff we give you, you will be able to go and apply it in practice. And that's something very important to do. Any questions? Any questions, guys?
No question, sir.
No question, sir.
Alrighty, matey. No worries. So now we continue to the other things. In future tutorial, as I said, we will go over other handed examples. We will give you plenty of expertise to see what gets done, you know, how people do a good job, how people do a poor job, and you'll be able to go and make your improvement accordingly from there. So work hard, guys. We just want you to do well. Task number 5, I'll talk about very, very shortly. You've already done that, but I'm going to give you your break at the moment, and then we'll continue very shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming back to task number 5, where we are talking about the project charter. You should have handed in the working draft for the project charter. It was due date on Sunday the 28th. So I'm going to just double check now, group by group, to make sure you've done the work. All right, so I can see the majority of people, actually everybody, have actually submitted the work, and I can see that the work has been submitted by the leaders, and that's very, very important for a very simple reason. If the work is not submitted by the leader, and then someone else, and then the leader goes down the track and decide to go and make the submissions in the future, what's going to happen is it's going to start creating a lot of similarity. It's going to go and start creating an investigation issue, and all of these things are things we need to make sure we're going to go and avoid. So please make sure you are going to be submitting your work on time. Please make sure you know, you're going to go and actually not simply do that, but also elaborate on it. So after you go and you get your feedback, you're going to need to go and kind of make the improvements down the track to make sure, you know, you're doing the improvement that needs to go and be completed week on week. All right, I'm going to just play a couple of videos that are relevant now for what you need to go and work on. That's the first one. I'm going to play it, and then I'll play the one after it. Let's start with this one.
Let's take just a moment and look at an example of a stakeholder register. This particular register is in Google Sheets, but you could do this in Excel, in SharePoint, and a number of other tools. The important thing is that we understand what we might include in the stakeholder register. So in this particular example, I have an ID, okay, so that we can reference the stakeholders. We include their name. Now, I really like to have the individual, if it is an individual, I like to have their name. We're dealing with people, and so I don't want to know just their title, but I want to know who they are. So we include their name. We certainly want to know their title. We want to know their role in the project. So are they a sponsor, okay? Are they a vendor? Or are they a subject matter expert? And as we've talked about, it's important with the stakeholders that we consider the level of power and the level of interest that each of the stakeholders have. And so for each stakeholder, we ask ourselves, how much power does this stakeholder have? Is it low or high? And how much interest do they have in the project? Is it low or high? And then for each of the stakeholders, we want to know their needs and wants. Now, be careful here. We're not talking about detailed requirements. Okay, this is the stakeholder register. So just at a very high level, what do they need? So Gary Moore, who's the VP of Sales, says the project's got to be completed by the end of the third quarter. Okay. If we were to look at Ron Hall, the sales manager, he's interested in new features in the sales tools. We look at Dawn Smith, the programming manager, she's thinking about the programmer on this project and is thinking, hey, you know what, I may need that developer for month-end processing. So it'd be great to know that early in the project. The next thing that we want to know about these stakeholders are their concerns. And so as I'm interviewing these stakeholders, I like to ask the question, what are your concerns on the project? What do you think might hinder our ability to complete this project? So Gary Moore, the VP of Sales, says, you know, my concern is that our competition may deliver a competing product sooner. Ronnie McKinney, the senior developer, says, I'm concerned about the complexity of the interface to the third-party vendor. Julie Johnson, who's in the testing area, says, I'm uncertain as to how the new stress testing software will perform. And so each of these stakeholders, we ask them what are their concerns. So fairly simple example, but you want to just make sure you've got a register. Again, you could do this in any kind of spreadsheet or other, project management information systems have capabilities for capturing or may already have this type of function available. So check that out. Give that a try. I think you'll find tremendous value in the use of a stakeholder register.
So this is a video that we played last week, and the reason why I played it again is because it is relevant to what you need to be working on at this stage. You notice how this register was a bit plain. There's no colors, there's no different red and white. And you know how I showed you earlier, I showed you how you can make it even better. You can talk about mitigation actions, not simply just give me this basic information. So we don't expect you to simply copy and paste what we show you. We expect you to go and even do a bit further work to be able to go and show better quality outcomes. So please don't just simply copy and paste what we're doing, but just try to make sure you're going to go and show us more information than the basics we are giving you. The other one that is relevant is how do you create the risk register. So let me show you this video now.
risk registers typically work best as a table. So what is a risk register? Well, a risk register is a project management tool, and it's a means of recording identified risks and associated information, such as their severity, their impact, and any possible mitigation activity. While there is some dedicated risk management software available, risk registers typically work best as a table. You don't need any dedicated software, and you can use just a simple Excel spreadsheet. You can collect a variety of information, although typically most risk registers will contain three main areas of information. 1, a reference number and some sort of description. 2, data around the impact and probability of the risk happening. And 3, data around the mitigation activity. The following Excel spreadsheet shows a typical example of a risk register. It contains our three areas. The yellow area describes the risk. You can see here where we've captured information such as the risk title, description, and an owner. In the second section, we've captured information about the impact of the risk. Here you can see us describe the probability and also associated impacts such as cost impact and the impact on the project schedule. Here we've used high, medium, and low indicators. Finally, we describe the mitigation activity with some description about what we intend to do to mitigate the risk, a probability after mitigation, and what the cost of the mitigation might be. As we said at the start, you can capture a variety of information on your risk register. Here are some other ideas of what you might want to collect. So in summary, risk registers are powerful management tools. They're presented best as a table. You can create them easily in a simple spreadsheet application. And you can collect a broad range of information around your risks and what you intend to do about them.
All right, guys. So if I was to go to these two things, so when we go and create the stakeholder register, don't just simply create it. I want to go and see more than creating it. I want to see what are you going to be doing about it. So you can see in that example that I showed you earlier in that group, they basically copied and pasted what's in here. They haven't really bothered about doing anything more than what was here. And if you go and think about the next part about the stakeholder register, there's obviously a lot you can think about. I'll leave you to go and explore what other potential samples you might be able to find, how you can go and kind of make it clear the difference between, high risk, medium risk, likelihood of occurrence, impact of occurrence. All of these things needs to go and be considered very well in terms of that particular work. So it's very, very important that you basically think about all of these tasks accordingly. Now, scope statement, that's a task that needs to go and be done. You need to go over the scope statement example. Now, we did show you a number of things earlier. So if I was to go and say, so let's go up. So you can see JWD scope statement example. So there's an example we basically went and gave you here. But again, I always tell you, don't just copy and paste anything. I want to make sure I see that you guys are doing extra work, not simply going and copying and pasting. But there's a decent structure being given here for you that you can go and actually look at that might help you to go and actually present some decent information. There are enough structures for you to go and have a look at, not simply go and look at what we've downloaded here, but also see, is there anything more you can go and add? Are there any extra instructions you can go and provide, any extra details? But whatever you do, just remember, I want you to ensure you're not copying and pasting information, and you're not duplicating information in more than one section. So you need to think about that, because that's something you need to go and really bear in mind. You must create a template in either Word or Excel and submit working drafts on or before 4th of April. You must address all headings in example scope with applicable information relevant to the case. We have provided an example in JWD case. We have extracted just the relevant pages which are available under week 3. So just You can use the headings and create a template in Word. You can go and make adjustments accordingly to be able to go and get the job done. You need to only submit from one person in the group, and that person needs to be the actual leader of the group. However, if the leader did not submit the initial work, I recommend that the same person who submitted the initial work will continue to go and submit the remaining tasks. This is very important because we want to try to avoid any potential for similarity that are going to go and appear. I don't want to have any similarity index that's going to go and trigger a big investigation that is going to kind of have a very big impact on you a bit later. I want to also tell you what I've mentioned earlier. You need to go and submit one file per tab. No zip files will be accepted because zip files will not present for us the similarity that we need to go and know about. So make sure there's a cover page. You can put the cover page as an image. That's not going to be a problem. But at the same time, I want to be able to go and I want to see that you are putting the files correctly, you are unzipping them, you make them as one potential Word document, and you're submitting them accordingly. Any questions on that? Any questions at all?
No questions, sir.
Alrighty, no worries. So continuing, task 8 is about really answering all of these various questions. So guys, what did we say about schedule management? What is schedule management and why is it very critical for the success of the project? What is it? So what is schedule management? Come on, guys. All answers are accepted. Come on, let's go. All right, so what is a project schedule management?
So it's just a listing of activities, deliverables, and milestones within a project.
Well, that's really one thing. Schedule management is a number of steps that are associated. So I'll mention them now. But why is it very critical for the success of the project? Why is project schedule management so important for the success?
Because it involves managing portfolio, milestones,
Yeah, involve managing the milestones, managing the activities, managing the work that needs to be completed to ensure the
Creating
job
a
gets
plan.
completed. Creating a plan. It involves saving a baseline to be able to go and monitor, are we actually delivering things according to the plan?
Involving resources for the project.
Yeah, resources, assigning time, comparing progress. All of these are very much relevant for us to go and really think about. So it's very important to really bear that in mind to be able to reach the right outcome. So project schedule management is about the use of various processes. And as I said, it's not one process. Various processes to ensure a timely completion of the required projects. It is critical for projects to be considered successful if, one of the main things is a project needs to be delivered within time, project needs to be delivered within cost, and a project needs to be delivered within specifications. If it's not delivered within time, cost, and specifications, that basically becomes a big problem. You won't be able to reach the benefits you would like to go and really reach. What are the steps of project time management processes? What are the steps? Can I put the time before knowing the activities? What are the steps, my friends?
Plan schedule management.
Plan schedule management. What does planning schedule management actually means?
It means just to plan the schedule and manage it.
How are we going to go and actually, manage the schedule? How are we going to go and manage time? How are we going to go and manage people? How are we going to manage dependencies? So how
We
are
have
we
to
going to go and do
define
things?
activities.
Well, that's really the question. That's what it's asking, plan schedule management. What else are the tasks?
We define activities.
Define the activities that needs
Individual.
to be done. Yeah. And after I have a list of activities, have you guys defined, when we define all of these activities, what are they called? They're called work, break,
WDS.
WBS. So we go and define all of these activities. What else after? So when you
We
go,
sequence those activities.
so sequence. So if you're going to go and create all of these activities, if you're going to say, I need to write the code and I need to test. Right. So when do I code? I do the coding first. And what do I do the test? I do the testing after. So you basically go and basically, go and start changing accordingly. So we need to go and have that accordingly. We need to go and kind of make sure that, know when things going to start and when things going to end. We need all of that information to be reported. What else, guys?
Then we estimate the
Estimating the
activity
time.
resources,
Estimating the time of each activity. That's correct. What else?
the time durations.
Duration for each activity.
Yeah. Then develop a schedule.
All right. So you can see all of these activities here.
Yep.
Planning, schedule management, what policy we're going to follow, what are the procedures for planning we're going to follow, what documentation we're going to follow to plan, execute, and control the project schedule. Defining activities involve identifying the specific activities that are involved. When I talk about the activities, the activities usually have a duration, have a cost, have a resource. After I have all of these activities, I need to understand, well, when is each activity going to happen? Which one's going to be first? Which one's going to be after?
Schedule.
What's that?
At last, control the schedule.
I didn't get what you're saying, my friend.
At last, we will control the schedule.
Can you type it? Sorry, I couldn't get it.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Sequencing activities involve identifying and documenting the relationship between various activities, when they're going to start, when they're going to end. Estimating the duration involve estimating every task and how long it's going to go and take. And from there, we're going to be able to go and develop a schedule, which basically involve analyzing all of these, the sequences, analyzing the requirements, activity duration, and you need to control the schedule. You need to go and have a comparison between what you are supposed to go and plan, deliver the items, every task, when were you plan to go and deliver it, versus when have you actually went and delivered that particular task. So you make a comparison between planned, baseline versus actual duration to go and deliver the actual outcome. At last, yeah, correct, Sulipta, at last we go and control the schedule. That's 100% correct. Something to go and really bear in mind there. So it's really involves so many tasks to go and think about, so many relationships to be able to go and ensure we are going to be delivering and managing the project appropriately to reach the right goals. What is an activity? Anybody tell me what is an activity, guys?
It is a list of tasks.
Yeah, activity is more, it's like a task that needs to be completed to be able to go and get the job done. As a task is an element of work normally found in a work breakdown structure that is expected to go and have a duration, a cost, and have a resource requirement. So it's very, very important to go and have that information there to get the right outcome. The activity attributes provide schedule-related information about each activity, such as predecessors, what comes before it, successors, what comes after it, what sort of logical relationship exists. Testing can't be before coding. You know, what sort of leads? You need to wait 5 days before you start another activity. You know, what sort of flags? What sort of resource requirements you will need? What sort of constraints exist? What sort of imposed dates exist? All of these things we need to really bear in mind when we're talking about all of these activities, the start, the end date, all of this information. Without them, there would be something missing and you won't be able to get the totally finalized answer. So what's a milestone?
Group of activities.
What's that? Group of activities that has been what?
It's just the completion of the task.
Well, it's a group of activities that basically it's like a an object that kind of signifies that a key objectives of the project has been achieved. It's a key achievement for the project. That's correct. So that's what we need to go and really think about. It's a key achievement for the project that we need to go and really bear in mind. What is the difference between an activity and a milestone? Well, an activity is a job that needs to be done. An activity is one that must go and consume time to be able to go and really get the job to go and be completed. But when you go and think about a milestone does not actually consume any time. A milestone is simply looking after a large number of tasks that has been completed and indicating that a key objective has actually been achieved. So we need to go and look about that, think about that. It's totally different. Can anybody give me an example of an activity and a milestone? Can I have an example of an activity and a milestone?
So activity is designing a website.
Yep.
The milestone is when it is completed.
Okay, so you say website design is complete.
Yeah.
That's correct, mate. So this is basically an example of both of these items. So a milestone on a project is a significant event that normally has no duration. It's a 0 duration. It is basically ending a marker or a checkpoint to say that something has been completed. It often takes several activities and a lot of work and a lot of time before we are going to go and reach a milestone. But the milestone itself is a marker to help in identifying necessary activities. Some they use for reviews checkpoints. You know, we review that something important has been done. The milestone on a project might be customer sign off complete. That's mean the customer has basically signed on the work that I've completed for them. They basically told me that they're happy with the work that I managed to go and complete. And at this stage, this work is now work that could be go and actually submitted. It's one basically that we go and say it's ready to go and be, ready to go. Like the whole task is done. We can move to the next thing we need to go and do. So the customer sign off, if you go and think for this milestone to be reached, for the customers to sign off and say, I'm happy you gave me what I want, many pre-activities must be completed, such as meeting customers, documenting requirements, discussing requirements, and so on. And only after we've done all of those things, then they're going to come and say, all right, customer sign off has now been completed. We are now ready to move to the next step. So we need to go and think about all of these various things that needs to be done to get the job to be ready to be completed. A network diagram, anybody could tell me what it is?
A sequence of activities.
Yeah. So what is it? What is the network diagram?
The diagram that shows the sequence of activities, project activities.
Okay, fair enough. And what are the different sequencing activities? What are different types of sequencing?
One is arrow.
Yeah, but what does that mean? There's 4 types of sequencing activities that I mentioned earlier today. What are they? What are they?
Did it finish to start? Start to start?
Finish to start relationship, start to start relationship. What else?
Finish to finish, start to finish.
Finish to finish and start to finish. That's correct. So the network diagram, I'm going to show you another network diagram here. All right. Go here. I showed you that example earlier, network diagram PM. So that's a network diagram. Okay, that's a network diagram. You can see here the critical path is in red. Okay, that's you know, MS project network diagram. So you can see in project how it shows you the network diagram, all of these activities, what's in the critical path, what's not on the critical path. You see all of that information there. But you know, there's different type of drawing the network diagram. This is one of the format. Do you remember what this is called? Activity on what?
Sorry.
Activity on what? The activity is on arrow. Okay, there's activity on node and activity on arrow methods. This is here activity on node. So you have you know, you have various basically options. You know, start time, finish time. In this example, on the arrow you go and put what is the activity. A equal 1. So between 1 and 2, that's activity A. But here, activity A is a box by itself. So different ways to go and present the network diagram. What are the 4 tasks? Top type of task dependencies. Use a figure to illustrate. Guys, we've seen that. Finish to finish relationship, finish to start relationship, start to start, start to finish. All of these are various things to go and really bear in mind here. But yeah, it's a number of activities to go and really bear in mind in terms of the work that needs to go and be completed. Define the 3 important tools and techniques for developing a schedule. Can you tell me what are they?
Gantt chart.
Gantt chart, 1. Yes. What else?
Network diagram.
Correct. Okay. The Gantt chart is 1. The critical path analysis is really related to the network diagram because that is here. You could know what is the critical path on the network diagram. So it's called the critical path analysis. And the PERT analysis is the last one, which is basically going and estimating the time it takes to go and complete each potential activity. You calculate the optimistic time, the pessimistic time, and the most likely time to go and get the job done. My beautiful people, any questions? Any questions?
No questions, sir.
No questions, sir.
All right, guys, we're going to say thank you very kindly for all your time and for your efforts. We want to remind you that the assignment is due every single week. We want to remind you that every single person needs to be contributing. Anybody who is not going to be contributing to any particular task will not get any mark for that particular task. So it's very important that everybody is actually contributing to the job to be able to ensure they are going to be getting a mark. Thank you guys very much for your time.